Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. Incredible guests the world over with amazing insights. They've usually been through some sort of transformation, childhood, teen years, college, or after. And sometimes they've run away from the opportunity to grow. But in the end, they've become a healer, New York Times bestseller, a guest on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, the show, or an Oprah Super Soul 100 teacher. It runs the gamut for all the different types of guests we've had on: doctors, psychotherapists, professors, and so on. They're here, though, having now dedicated themselves in service to others. And I think that's pretty important. And they're here to share some of their experiences, the ebbs and flows of life, how we can all let go more daily, and how we can all experience and share more love. With that, welcoming her back to the show, we've got Elaine Yoshikawa coming to us from Arizona. She's got a phenomenal background. She's phenomenally intuitive. I'm going to just touch upon 3 or 4 quick things. She teaches at Arizona State University. She's got a background in music and psychology. She got her MA. She got her BA in psychology. She got her BA at Berkeley. She got her master's at Arizona State University and her Ph.D. there as well. She's an author of a book, Awakening in God's Heart. She's super trained and educated and knowledgeable, and she's had a lot of personal experiences with the universe. So I am just excited to have made her acquaintance in 2024. I'm excited to have her back on the show. And a final footnote for everybody: please like, share, subscribe, comment. We've got 270 shows booked into September of 2025. We're booked a year out at this point. We've got a huge footprint in terms of guests for such a tiny show. And that's because off camera, and most of the time, sometimes on camera, guests are actually taking steps with the universe. You need to watch to the end to check that out, but we encourage you to at least put a few emojis in. This is not easy for the guests. They're being very brave, bold, and their openness is benefiting us all. So with that, Elaine, welcome back to Angels, Positivity, and Love. You are one of the most phenomenal people I've met doing this show, so I am super grateful to have made your acquaintance and to have you back on.
Well, thank you so much for having me back on. I feel the same about you.
Can you share with us just for a minute or two your background and how you've rolled in a few different ways in life, both career-wise and experiences, but can you encapsulate that? People can go back to your first appearance on the show for more detail, but give us the big picture before we start diving into consciousness, life, compassion, and so on.
Well, I guess the big picture is one of balance. And so I started with a very traditional background. I wasn't what you would call religious, but a little bit spiritual. And I think from my music, first I was a piano performance major, and I learned a lot about disciplining the mind by having to practice all the time. But you're also experiencing music on a very different level, because you're trying to perform the best you can. And the only way that you can perform it is to feel what the composers felt as they composed their piece. So a lot of that training, it sort of opened up my mystical side. And then I made a sudden, I kind of burnt out on music, and then I decided I wanted to develop my intellect. I didn't do that much of that during the piano years. So I decided to go into philosophy, and I thought I was going into existential or continental philosophy, but I realized a little bit too late that it was analytical philosophy. And so now you had this way of thinking that was completely counter to my music background. And so it was learning about logic, arguments, validity, all these technical kinds of things that I wasn't necessarily in tune with, but I learned about it. And then after that, I was a computer programmer. I needed to make some money. After the computer programmer part, it's like the universe. I was in San Francisco at the time of the big earthquake. And after that, I didn't want to be in California anymore. So I ended up in Arizona, and I went back into philosophy, met this amazing professor who showed me the depth of moral psychology. And I was with him until I got my doctorate. So that put me into a strange kind of position, because I've been trained as a philosopher in the analytical tradition, but I've also had mystical experiences throughout my life. And those, I'm realizing now there was a theme to them, right? And so every so often they would rip away the veil and I would see something, and it would force me to grow spiritually.
Elaine, can we go through like 4 of them, or the fabric of what they looked like? And then can you pick one and give us the flavor of one of those experiences? You had mentioned one in the other show where you're walking along as a young girl, I think outside or the park, and the world shifted. But so we won't do that one. But can you give us the flavor of how they came in at different points to rebalance everything for you or expand your perspective?
I can give you a dream I had. The very first day I met the professor that I was going to study with. And so I couldn't believe how good that lecture was. It just made me a buzz. And suddenly I was in love with philosophy. And that night I dreamt that, this is going to be a very obvious dream. It's called, for Carl Jung, the analytical psychologist, he calls them the big dream. And these are the dreams that his clients or his patients have the very first day of their therapy. So that's what it was like for me. So I dreamed that my professor was driving a school bus. And I got on, and there were other people there. And as he's driving along, everybody's getting off. But I knew I was supposed to stay on the bus. And so I waited until he was at the very end of his route, and we ended up in at a school where classrooms. And he brought me into a classroom, and there was nothing in it except one chair in the middle of the room. And so he had me sit there, and he's also a law professor. And so he went out of the room and brought back law exams that he had graded, and then he put them on my lap. And what I noticed was on the very top, there was an 88. That was the score of the exam. Okay. So when I had that dream, it didn't make sense to me, because it sounded like, okay, I was going to be with this professor until the end of the line, which to me meant a doctorate, right? But at that time, Arizona State University didn't have a doctorate program. It was a terminal MA degree. And that's what I was doing with that professor. Then in about 2 years' time, they implemented a PhD program. And that's when I worked with him, and I got my doctorate there. And I knew it was the end, because we had coffee, and this was during the summer that I was graduating. We had coffee, and he was telling me how happy he was with his law students, because the average was an 88. And that told me, oh, this is the end of the line for me, based on that dream. So I knew that was supposed to be my path, right? Given the big dream.
That's a great recounting. What are a few, you don't have to get into them, but what are a few other markers along the way that then maybe later in the show we can come back to? Can you just mention a little bit of detail that has happened along the way as well. That was a really good one.
Okay, so oof, sometimes they're hard. The life lessons are really hard. My own personal weakness has always been relationships with men. And so for a very long time, I didn't understand why I was so miserable in my relationships. I know now, but at the time it was like, and it's a societal thing. It's whenever I was in a relationship, I disappeared. It was all about his happiness and what I could do for him. And that was supposed to make me happy. But when you disappear, you're not going to be happy, right? So eventually, so I decided if I wanted a job, if I wanted to keep a job, if I wanted to complete my graduate work, I couldn't be in a relationship because I was that miserable. So I basically laid off all of that. Then after I got my during the period of my doctoral degree, I was friends with this person, and he and I were just starting a friendship. And I thought this was a really nice friendship. Never thought about it in terms of a romantic relationship. It was just a friends, platonic friends. And he was a really nice guy. And we had coffee and lunch like every week. And then, so it was just this one time where my guides decided to pull back the veil. And I saw his soul. And it was magnificent. It was brilliant. It was so warm. I immediately fell in love. And so it was the strangest thing. I've never had the experience where usually if I'm going to fall in love with somebody, it takes a while. You get to know the person. But this was like in an instant because they got involved, right? And so I knew that's going to be a life lesson. That was really difficult because he wasn't interested in a romantic relationship. And I didn't know what to do because I was kind of out of control. I was just, I was head on facing my ego when it comes to relationships. And if I wanted to continue seeing this person, I had to basically forget what I want and learn to love him just for who he is. And it took years, the poor guy, but we continued to see each other for lunch and stuff. And I really did learn a lot of pain, a lot of struggling, a lot of pruning of the ego, that kind of thing. But after that, I felt like I was at another level, that it wasn't about me. It was more about the relationship and how we could be equal. And it also opened up my heart to God, because you can't have an ego when you're with God, because your ego wants to control situations, right? And obviously when God takes control, if you're fighting against it, you're just going to suffer. You're going to feel pain. But once you start on this road towards unconditional love, it really expands. It expands your heart, it expands your life, and expands your ability to be in community. So that's kind of I think that gets us into the topic of expansion.
And we're later going to get into your book, which is a beautiful book. And also Before that, 3 of your daily exercises to get to here from up here. But let's talk about up here and here. There's some density. And like, this is a breaking news flash for everybody who has studied mankind's history, has looked themselves in the mirror, or looked at their actions that they're not too pleased with. It's all of our fear, rejecting, reacting, resisting, worry, stress, knowing something, the preclusion of possibility, which is 99% of American or human knowing. Because wait a second, and something else comes along and knocks it out of the way. I don't like sushi, but Ted likes sushi 10 houses down. There's universal truth of love down here. And so you're either or, you're in density or lightness, some scale of vibration frequency. But can you use your words? This is only something you've studied for how long?
So can you give me a quick
Yeah.
question?
Think of it this way. You've studied business ethics. You've studied Catholicism, Catholic ethics, or Christianity ethics, Buddhist ethics. Yeah, I don't know how to say it the right way, but you've studied mankind's attempt to impose on the universe, nature, and everything else. And you've studied, you know, the difference between awareness, unconditional love, no limits, no time, versus the stuff we still have to function in. We still have to think. Thinking ain't going away. So there's some flow up here that's a little bit like a hot stove, but sometimes it's we just turned it on. It's just getting warm. If you put your hand on it, you're not going to get burned, but you're like, ooh, that's not that comfortable. And most of the time, we don't know that we're operating up here. And that's why it takes a near-death experience. It takes a car wreck. It takes an illness. It takes a breakup, 5 divorces in 5 weeks. You're that unlucky of a person to come to your senses down here and go, whoa, love is a constant. I'm checked out of love 98% of my day. So if I could be in love 7% more each day, according to an angel, you're automatically walking a smoother path. And guess what? You're an Olympian. So that was my stab at it. But there's 2 different flows. And as Wayne Dyer says, you can't be in a hot shower enjoying it and be upset at the same time. So it's an either or proposition. But there's a lot of philosophers, there's a lot of spiritual guides, there's you who have said it entirely differently. How do you describe what goes on when we're up here versus when we're down here? More consciousness, more awareness, more fun, more sparkle. What's this all about, Alfie?
So I'm going to use Plato's metaphysical structure, because for me, that really clarifies so much of it. I'm going to say up here is the realm of being, and the realm of being includes everything that's eternal, infinite, truth. It's about truth, with a capital T. It's perfection. It's never changing. It's permanent. So you get a sense of that's like a world of divinity. And that's actually where we're most, as souls, most comfortable in, that realm. But then there's the other realm, and Plato calls that the realm of becoming. And the realm of becoming is basically the physical world. It's what you can see. It's what you can measure. It's the kinds of beliefs that you're raised with. Depending on different cultures, you're going to be raised with different values and priorities. And that makes it actually a huge difference in how a soul develops. Just quickly, this just came to mind, the difference between, say, Tibetan versus American culture. In American culture, there's a lot of shame, right? People who don't feel that they're deserving or worthy, or, in fact, I wrote my dissertation on shame. And the amazing thing for me was that I learned in Tibet, when they talked to the Dalai Lama, he didn't even know what the word shame meant. It just wasn't part of their culture. Why would you demean a child? Why would you harm anybody in that way so that they felt less, right? So yeah, how you're being brought up the values that are placed, the beliefs that you have about yourself, about others, about the society. All that is in the realm of becoming. Actually, Plato actually refines it more, but I'm not going to worry about the other stages of that. I think that picture is enough to explain some of the things that I think I'm going to be talking about. So, like, one thing that that was it was sort of coming to me a lot, couple days for a couple of days, is this one experience I had in Boston over the summer. I was walking along the Charles River, and I decided I had a sketching pad with me, and I sat on a rock and I picked up a leaf, and I just started sketching a leaf. And the amazing thing about this is that we take so much for granted most of the time because we're so busy. But when I sat with this leaf and started really going into the depths of what I was seeing in front of me and experiencing it and touching and feeling, all of a sudden, as I'm sketching, it's like you start sketching the universe, because I'm looking at the veins in the leaf, and suddenly I'm thinking, oh, veins in our bodies, veins like rivers and tributaries. And then suddenly I was just popped out into the universe. So you go from the microcosm to the macrocosm. And the only thing you have to do is go more deeply into these things that are around us. So it doesn't matter if it's a tree or a rock or a crystal, anything, because like we were talking before, Christ consciousness is in everything. And as soon as you understand the essence and experience the essence of something, and that's going deep, but as soon as you experience the essence and absorb it, it will take you into Christ consciousness experiences.
And I think the Tibetans call that suchness, maybe. And I have a quote. I have a couple quotes for you. Whether I can pronounce anybody's name correctly, we'll see. But one is from India from a long time ago, Siddha Katrapa. I've had this since 1992 or 3, when I wrote this down in what was not a diary, but close, in New York City. And I was just year 1 for a second time in New York City, starting off on Wall Street. And I wrote down all these quotes. I might do a few more from this. And then they sat with me forever. And I didn't understand the expression non-duality until 2009, 10, 11, reading Thich Nhat Hanh's Pieces Every Step book. It was his only non-sentence in that book. Blah, 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 non-duality, period. Not to, period. And it's a short little book. I'm sitting on the curb of the Acura dealership outside watching a swirl of leaves, speaking of leaves, and I'm reading this and I'm like, that's what non-duality means. I didn't have a Buddhist professor, or I didn't bother to take any time to look it up or to try to learn it. It just, I had to wait 15, 18 years to get the answer. Here it is. Whatever the yogin sees is his instruction, and realization that all he sees is unborn. That is the most excellent guru. Innocence is the way to realize non-duality, for here the effects of virtue and vice are one. And I'll say that there's a few things, maybe 3, that I've learned in 13 years of helping people let go to see angels, engage the universe, other figures from around the universe or India or wherever. One is, where you put your focus is where you put it. 2, how you spend your energy is how you spend your energy. And then let me do a couple more quotes, because then you can run with this. This is just circling the same topic over and over again. Nothing ever really goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. When we look into our own hearts and begin to discover what is confused and what is brilliant, what is bitter and what is sweet, it isn't just ourselves we're discovering, it's the universe. Everything and everyone is awake. And accepting ourselves means lightening up the ancient burden of self-importance. These are all on the same sheet. When I bought my house in Austin, Texas, I made a mantra sheet, hid it behind a door so people wouldn't just start seeing it in my house, but it was sort of the mantra sheet for the house. One or two more times. When we feel embarrassed or awkward, when pain presents itself, we run like crazy to try to become comfortable. And to relate with others compassionately is a challenge. Really communicating to the heart and being there for someone else means also not shutting down on that person, which means, first of all, not shutting down on ourselves. And one last bit to describe you as an inner fearless, peaceful warrior. This is this NASA astronaut, Story Musgrave, getting out of the comfortable path, what we run to right away, what we stick with for decades, because it's so much easier to know what we know up here. Getting out of the comfortable path, that's what exploration is all about. And back to our inner fearless, peaceful warrior, who is the guest on this show. What is all that circling around? Is it human nature? Is it our journey?
Both.
Tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, our journey, particularly in this time where there's so much energy being transmitted to us, and there's the acceleration of the ascension process, not just human beings and human souls, but also the planet itself. I think because of that acceleration mode, a lot of people are going to feel the consequences of that. And if you're sort of like going in the direction of the flow, it'll be beautiful. It'll be fast. It'll be joyous. But if you decide to go against it and you want to stay in your ego and stay in the realm of becoming, and you're trying to work against the flow, it will be more difficult
If I'm
than
a
before.
40-year accounting veteran, I'm at tops of my game. I'm in Shanghai and I'm the #1 accountant in my global firm, and I run this department, and that's all I know. I vaguely remember having an interest when I was 14 in some philosophers or Joe Shu, but today, after 40 years, I know what I know. I'm going to retire in 3 years. I don't need to know anything else. My growth and expansion has stopped. Sure, I like to visit Macau and Hawaii for my vacations. What are these people up against? They're up against their own thinking, but everything is our opportunity for expansion. Can you get into the dynamics just a little? Every moment counts. It's the only casino on the strip. It's the point of the occasion, or the moment of the occasion right now.
Yeah, it would be a lot easier if their guys just opened the veil. And then you could
the Band-Aid
see.
off.
That would, yeah. But so if that doesn't happen, I really believe this. It's a matter of your inner knowing. If you're in pain.
Ooh.
If, even though you have everything that the world tells you should have, that there's something missing. Oh, okay. So I just recently watched it was a really sad video of Matthew Perry.
Mm-hmm.
And he passed away this year or last year. It was just so sad because he was so talented and so young, but he was never really happy. He went for everything he wanted and he got it, right? But there was still something lacking inside. And I mean, that's what a lot of the addiction in this country, it's a huge problem, because people are missing something. And a lot of times people, they don't know what it is they're missing. And that's really the sad part. I think partly it's a societal failure. We live in a transactional society. So we use the market system as a way of sort of helping us to make decisions in our lives. We use transactions as a way of behaving. And so for instance, you know, when you go to the store, we buy things for a certain value and we give them money. So there's an equal amount, you know, taken and given. And that's the market economy. We pay for things and we get things. Unfortunately, that kind of thinking has crept into our relationships because it's so strong. It seems like, well, if we have these beliefs about the market economy, well, maybe that's the way it should be in our relationships. And so what a lot of people do is they expect a trade, right? You can't ever have unconditional love if you're expecting a trade. So that's why there are a lot of people who are unhappy in their relationships. They have expectations, and if their partner doesn't give them what they need or require, then it's no longer a happy relationship. As long as they give each other what they need, they're fine. But once that balance, that transactional balance is lost, then you have problems and tension. And a lot of times people don't realize where the value system isn't appropriate for relationships. We need the value system of Christianity or Buddhism or the virtues, right? That will get us to the next level. And that's actually where you're going to find your happiness as human beings.
And I'm going to mention that everyone is walking around as a Zen master. Here's the good news. You could be like this most of the day. Wait, what did you say, Elaine? Just kidding. You could be absorbed in devices, TV, whatever, your work. And when you come home, are you petting the dogs right away? They've been waiting for you all day. Or are you doing that last phone call? Where's your attention at? And so what I'll make the point about is half your day, maybe more unconsciously, you are wide open doing stuff. And your ego pays no attention to trying to patrol it, police it, restrict it, or give you a narrative about it. What would it be like? Tying your shoe, flipping a light switch on the wall, brushing your teeth. The brain, that little crop duster, that's ego, the intellect. I mean, a lot of people think an intellect's really important, but it's a crop duster. It has a half tank of petrol. It's made in 1940. It can only hang in the air for 15 minutes. It does not have all-encompassing restriction and control ability for you during the day. So when you go to flip a light switch, it goes, you're flipping a light switch. I don't need to be here. You're not going to revel and do a dance, a happy dance, that you flipped that light switch, the light went on, and you called every one of your friends, you called your mom, you called your daughter and said, I flipped the light switch. I did great. They're going to put you in an insane asylum or at least check you out for drugs. So what I'm getting at is all these acts are small, slow, and everything else. Now flip that coin. You don't go to bed and worry about the light switch you flipped last Tuesday at 4 o'clock, or did you brush this molar correctly 2 nights ago? And you've been losing sleep ever since. Or name any of 50 other activities during the day. How you put the jeans on, how you walked across the room. Did you greet your dog correctly? No. But name all the other things you beat yourself up over about the job, about that colleague at work, about the relationship, about the sports team, about the politician, about that stranger you waved hi to. Let me do a quote from an angel about strangers. And then this will all kind of start to come into focus, because the second you allow your focus to go broader, or your awareness or your love, or you're slowing your roll, hitting that accelerator, no, hitting the brake so you don't accelerate. We're pumping away up here all the time, doing too much this. Sometimes the person next to you or a stranger just needs validation via love and compassion. Smile changes at any moment. So too does laughter or a few kind words. Be compassionate to all. Do it, said an angel. Now that stranger at the 4-way stop sign, I don't care if you're walking your dog, you're driving, and you're like, oh, please go ahead. Little old lady, young boy, man, you just tend to wave higher if you're in a good mood and you're open. Don't judge it. You wave them across the street. You're not wondering which political party affiliation. You're not wondering if they're pro-censorship or against censorship. You're not wondering if they're for one of these or against one of these. You're not judging. You're just doing it. So there's something that you got inside your internal DNA makeup that is friendly, happy, love and above, positivity itself. And that is what the opening is. The openness is daily that you have access to. But that was my poor attempt to circle around and argue that the tip of the iceberg is what we're talking about. Below the surface of the water is the bigger you that exists all day long. You only need that car wreck, divorce, health crisis, job layoff with no notice. You were like coming in for a promotion and you're out of a job an hour later to shock you out of your reality up here. So you drop into your heart and go, oh my God, I got everything already. If I would just reorient, I can see how the universal flows work. I can use what I got more and not try anymore. So with that, Elaine, I'm bouncing this invisible ping pong ball or tennis ball back to you. Your turn. Take us. You are much more sophisticated about this. You've only been teaching this for a super long time. Well, hey, you've got a big book out. You've been teaching this stuff for a long time. You've been exposed to it for a long time. You've got the words. What are we talking about here again?
Well, can I circle back to what you were talking about before? So during the day, we're just on automatic pilot, right? And during the workday, especially. And that's actually an area that I'm going to be talking to. So for human beings, it's really all about the heart-to-heart connection. We forget. And particularly if you're in a work mode, you're kind of habituated to act in certain ways. So you don't have to think anymore, right? And so it's really possible to bring in some spirituality into your work, some humanity into your work. Start looking at your colleagues as souls rather than as coworkers or even just colleagues. I know for myself, when I work with my students, over the years, it's been an unveiling, I guess, because right now I don't see students, I see souls who are struggling. And so you treat them very differently than if you're just saying, okay, category student versus someone who's suffering in front of you. What can I do for them? And it really does go back to your own character. And that's what I'm going to bring the virtues back into this because I love the virtues. When you start embodying, and this is a very, I think, simple thing to do. It's what Aristotle says, what you want to do in order to embody more virtues in your character is just to practice. It doesn't take a lot, right? But a little bit of practice every single day, and you make a huge difference in the end. So be a little bit kinder every day. And we all make mistakes, and give yourself grace. It's fine. But just continue to take that path, because what that does is it creates a happier person. What virtues does is harmonize your internal psychological states. Okay, so you don't have to be harsh with yourself. Many people talk to themselves in very harsh ways that they wouldn't talk in that way to other people. So, give yourself grace, be kind to yourself. So you show yourself compassion, and then you can do that for other people. If you can't do that for yourself, very difficult to do it for other people. And so that's what the virtues do, is it creates harmony within yourself. But then if you're kind and generous to other people around you, you're creating more harmony in your external environment as well. And then that actually kind of leads us into deeper spirituality. See, that harmony is the harmony of the entire universe. So, yeah, that's why I always try to start my courses with virtues, because in the end, I think there'll be much happier people, and they'll be supporting a community that's happier too.
Well, we've hit that part or time in the show that's a classic time in the show where I light some sage and you get to catch it wherever you are. There's no time and space quite what we think it is, so don't worry about two screens. There's no separation. We'll prove it. We've proved it a million times on this show. I think we've got 200, 180 shows in the book, something like that. Episode 110 just aired. So a lot of shows, a lot of blowing sage. I've been a guest on another 70 shows. I'm about to grab my iPad and light the sage there, which is not going to work. I don't want to hurt my iPad. But I do have a rainbow shell. Forgot what it's called. Red-tailed hawk feather. I'm going to look very vacuous. I'm going to light sage. As you see a flame, you can taste it on your mouth. If you're hyper intuitive, you can't help yourself. But you can wait for your schnoggin to kick into gear, and you can catch the scent of sage. Make it a triple tier tiramisu, no calories. Catch sage. That's the linear. You're expecting sage. But ask for flowers and ask the universe for something else, like ocean, Bora Bora, not boring. Tahiti, Fiji, Hawaii. The real rub here, and I think Elaine's been touching on it, is what will you allow for? We're so busy, we don't even realize we can allow for anything. That little kid in you, Disney, CGI, special effects. You want butterflies in the air, angels can make you butterflies. But let's just do sage first. Here's the lighting. Set your intent. That's about the only thing I forgot to say so far. Set your intent for anything. I'm going to have the best day in the world. This coffee is going to taste like 10 coffees. My drive to work is going to be easy. Set your intent. Angels, get me out of my head, into my heart. Universe, get me out of my head, into my heart. Help me smell some sage. Amen, rock and roll. Thank you. You're from India to Om Sai Ram. It's got to be your words. It's your heart. You set your intent. Here's some sage. Smoke. Leave your eyes on it. I'm going to blow some. Elaine, are you already catching in Arizona some sage? Are you getting any flowers yet? Or I'm going to tell a joke. Okay, good. And you said rose, right?
Yes.
Just for the record. I'm going to tell one dad joke. It's not a serious one, and you have permission to use it in a hospital. Doctors and nurses still haven't heard it. You got to choose the right time and place, like anything else, where you're going to put your attention. Where in a hospital is the worst place to play hide and seek? Where? In the ICU. When you're laughing, you're smiling, you're breathing, you're letting go because you're here, period. There's only one here. You're the only one who can figure this stuff out. But Elaine in a little bit is going to take us into all that a little deeper. Did you get anything else? Ocean? Here's some ocean. Okay. Do you know which ocean though? Pacific. I said it first. I'm a psychic medium, but I really do try not to tell anybody anything, because what would be the point? If you don't do your own listening, feeling, and seeing, which hint, that's what I was saying before about the light switch, you're doing it all the time. You give yourself zero credit. It's like I'm going to have to name an NFL. I'm going to name a retired NFL player. Everyone should know the Peyton Manning name. You're already Peyton Manning, but you're giving yourself no credit for football abilities. That's okay. Just stop the judging and start the doing through the heart. That's it. You'll get the swing of it in a day, 10 years if you make it really hard for yourself. Go seeking around the world. Okay. Elaine, are you ready for quick lightning round game show action? I'll put up a few photos. 3 or 4 angels. I can do it. 4. Carl Jung, Kuan Yin, Plato, maybe one random other figure. And then we're going to get back to our discussion. They're going to just give you something to share with us that'll be right in line with the discussion. You can put your hand up. You can feel. You can listen. You can file some of that away for part of our discussions. But are you ready to hear a few folks weigh in? Okay. And I already know you're wildly intuitive. I love this. Like, we're so lucky to have you as a guest on the show. Thank you again. Here's Joy, the very first angel people generally meet. She's Joy, high, peppy voice. What's Joy have to say as a quick reminder for us all that it ain't that complex? And at home, if you want to put your hand out and feel, breathe through the mouth, no tri-iota. Feel what you can feel, do not judge, but also just listen. It'll sound like your voice for 1 second. The second you let go, you'll hear a high, peppy, hey. And Elaine, what'd you get from Joy?
Yeah, it is simple. It is, as we were talking about before, heart to heart, and also not to take things so seriously. It's who we are, and we've just put all this stuff on us that we just don't need, and especially now, we don't need it now. Maybe before we needed all that protection. Maybe 50, 60 years ago, we needed a lot of rules. But things are changing so quickly, especially in the spiritual realm. Yeah, a lot of concepts are changing as well. So
there's no right or wrong. There's proper understanding. Angel said that. It's one of the few things I can remember. Here's Charlotte, everybody's favorite school teacher, if it's not Elaine, our teacher, with words meant to help you expand. And her name's Charlotte again. She's an angel. Catch what you can catch. But if anybody who likes ancient Egypt and wants to catch a rare incense experience, catch it. It's really from ancient Egypt. You would have to go loosey-goosey and allow for this. But if you're already intuitive and watching this show, fantastic. Hit the subscribe, like, share, comment, put some emojis in. Say, I smelled the incense. If you go to the channel and look at all the comments, we got a lot of that. I try to capture some of them and put them on the website so you can take heart and know that there's no limits. What are you getting from Charlotte on this whole conversational thing?
Okay, so yeah, I'm seeing ancient Egypt, like really bright colors. Oh dear. I'm getting Atlantean energy, the wisdom of the Atlanteans and the devices that they brought in that are now being explored, I think. And so, yeah, I'm just seeing lots of crystals and lots of progress moving forward in that realm.
And then Min, Pacific Princess, angel with a serious background, not trying to be too serious to talk galaxies and cosmos and stuff, but she's light waves of energy and water, soft-spoken professor. If anyone saw the Disney film Moana, think of her as the invisible force that pushed the water back at the beginning so the little girl picking up conch shells wouldn't get wet. She's Mother Hawaii, if you want to allow for that, a touch of Hawaiian spirituality in her at a minimum. And it's Min like Minnesota, Lakota Sioux word for water. Uwala is a Polynesian morning glory with sweet potatoes in the ground on the underside of the vine. Her name's Water Morning Glory, but to make it more complex, only hard name out of 200. Uwala. Ua is rain, I think, in Hawaiian. Wa is sun. That's rainbow. Water Rainbow, Water Morning Glory, just call her Min. And lastly, August 30th of 2024, check out Dr. Karen Wyatt's show. I think that's airing right as we tape right now. She describes meeting this guardian angel as a 10-year-old at the foot of her bed, a Hallmark angel in white, or age 8, 9, 10, 11. And she knew from that moment on, meeting her, that she was going to be a doctor. And here she is interviewing for the show as a retired physician. And that's her guardian angel. It's my guardian angel. There's probably 80,000 of us that have her as a guardian angel. Yay. She's gotten to meet her as a human on the beach in California for 30 minutes. She got divine healing. She says that in the show. The 2 days I spent with her, I only heard one word pointing in what direction, because I try not to see your questions or answers. I learned more from the show than I did in 2 days of helping her because I stay out of it. And angels come in. So I'm just trying to point out, this is a big angel. She's cool. She's fun. She's very watery. And with that, are you getting any watery vibes in the room, Elaine? You can ask for it. If you're not, you can get Hawaii, you can get Bora Bora, Tahiti. What are you getting in the room right now?
Oh, I'm just getting Hawaii.
I didn't do it. Okay, what's Min got as a reminder for us all that's right in line with what we're talking about?
Oh, okay. Concepts. So I think I want to go to communities, spiritual communities. So, okay, so let me give an analogy first. if you're just starting out as a tennis player and you're playing with people who are at your same level, you're going to stay about the same. What you need to do in order to improve is to play with somebody who's better than you, right? And then you automatically, I mean, it's not that they're teaching you, but you automatically play better. You're watching them, you're seeing them move differently. So it's a whole nother level. So that's also true in spirituality. There are people who are emanating different kinds of vibrational frequencies. A lot of them are the new frequencies that are coming in now. If you're around these people, you don't necessarily have to be constantly with them, but if you're in physical proximity or even just watching on Zoom, what you do is you automatically pick up on those frequencies. It's not something that you're learning. It's not intellectual. It's more or less, if they're resonating at a certain frequency, you resonate at that certain frequency too, because you recognize it, because it's in the deepest part of your nature.
Brilliant. One of the best moments I've ever had in any show. I love that. That was really cool. Okay, Harmony, another angel named Harmony. I don't know why she chose the word tranquility. Don't blame me. Blame angels, blame Canada, but she's Harmony. And this is supposed to be rainbow light. These are actual photos, a little interdimensionality to them. If we use a historical photo, the historical photos can move. All these photos can move. You can catch flowers, ocean, incense without lighting anything. Just ask Harmony to bring you some sacred incense from India, Thailand, Tibet. It's up to you. You're the one who has to do the asking in life and the allowing with a capital A. What will you allow for? Ask for what you can ask for. Meanwhile, Elaine, are you getting any incense in the room just because I did bring it up?
I'm seeing images of crystals.
And by the way, you're a huge fan of crystals. You could talk crystals we'll have to have you back on another show to talk crystals, because you know crystals and you like that. Okay, here's Harmony. What's her thing before we get to Plato, Carl Jung, Kuan Yin, and a couple more?
Yeah, it's unity. Everything that we were talking about with virtues and the harmony that virtues provide us as human beings, as a community, as the universe. There might be a few other things, but I'm going to skip that for now.
Carl Jung, great sense of humor. He is spot on with whatever we're talking about. What's he spot on about right now? And then get a compliment for yourself, though, and say, got it when you got it, so that you start laughing. What's the you don't have to share the compliment out loud. You're keeping it quiet, unless you want to say what it is. That's up to you.
No.
No. But that's good. You got a compliment. Now, what's he got for us all as a reminder?
He's encouraging everyone to open their mystical side.
And I would be amiss if I didn't put Audrey Hepburn into this mix. She's an angel. She's half grace, half sparkle in the moment. There's already an angel named Grace who's rainbow light. So that spot is taken. There's a harmony, a faith, a hope, a joy. You see the pattern there. Here's Audrey. Let her wink, move, smile, eyebrow goes up, shoulder waggle, catch an uninvented perfume out of Paris. Just say when you see the photo move, the brain will say, I did not just see that. And you can meet your societal side, the resisting side, the side that can keep you locked up tight, shut tight like an oyster for 2 decades straight without even taking a breath, even though you were breathing the whole time. And if anybody needs help, turn up that 1970s stereo receiver, grab the big knob, turn it to the right, turn up the volume by breathing through the mouth. Exhale like a whale if you have any resistance here, and What are you seeing in Audrey's photo? What are you hearing from her? And catch an elegant smell of some sort. And what do you got, Elaine?
Oh, I'm just seeing a beautiful smile.
Did she say anything, or that was enough?
That was enough.
That was enough. Look, if Audrey smiles at me, that's enough. Anybody wants, ask Audrey to come in your dreams tonight. Just show up, have a cup of tea with her at a French cafe, have the most wonderful conversation. If you're not the type to remember dreams, don't remember it. If you need a special exemption from the universe angels, ask to remember it. Keep the legal pattern reporter's notebook on your bedstand so you can start writing first thing in the morning. Ask for a lot of insights, and you can get a painting handed to you. The drawing or the painting can be the answer if you're not really word oriented. You can have it any which way, but loose. Okay, here's Plato, philosopher. You can see the old man's face if I kind of bring it down here. There's a nose, there's a mustache, 2 eyes. I've gotten ribbed a lot because I, unfortunately, at Middlebury College, skipped half my Plato reading. Whoops, I'm bad. And if we had a past life that we might have been in his class, and we were in his class, you can ask him privately, was I one of the worst students in his class, making the paper airplane sitting in the back row, crumpling paper and tossing it, that type of student? You can hear it privately, but if we start seeing you laugh, we know the answer is yes. You can just nod. I don't mind being thrown under the bus. Not that bad, but not the most astute front row. Thank you. Okay. Now, what's Plato got getting serious again? Because this is all about being serious. Not at all. And no hugs for him. They're sweaty. Fist pump for Plato. Tap on the shoulder. Get hugs from everybody else. Trust me. You'll be so hug pro hug that you'll be like, I'll just get a hug from Plato. And then you're going to come running to me in the comment section saying it was sweaty. Why didn't you warn us? I'm warning you now. Fist pump, tap on the shoulder. He does not. Hugs are not quite his thing, but he'll support you with a hand on your back or a touch on the shoulder. A high five. That can work for him too. No one that I've ever done this for in 13 years has done a high five with him, but a high five works. Put your hand out of the air like you're at a concert. Feel a little tap of energy. You got your high five. What'd you get from Plato? No try Yoda. I'm going to do Yoda's voice as you hear my voice and I throw myself completely under the bus again. Here's Yoda's voice. You're letting go. Do not. There is no try. And as Archangel Gabriel says, always try. And they're both correct. There's no such thing as right or wrong. There's proper understanding. I was just saying that an hour ago, 2 hours ago. And so it's beyond words. All of this is beyond words. We do the best we can to do a Polaroid snapshot of everything, but it's usually not accurate by the time the thing comes out of the Polaroid and starts to develop. That's why trust the love, trust your heart more. Elaine, I did my part. I bought you the time. What's Plato got for you to share with us all?
I'm just seeing enlightenment, and it's the strangest. Yeah, okay, because this is not something we talk about in the academic world with Plato. So as I mentioned before, in the realm of being, and the metaphysical structure that Plato gave us, there's actually a number of steps, and the highest level I always imagined is enlightenment. And I think that's what he was pointing to right there.
It's the light at the end of the tunnel, but you don't have to go to the light or have the near-death experience. And guess what? There is no tunnel, because now is always the occasion. I'll do a Chogyam Trungpa quote before I put up Kuan Yin for you. See how fast and how nimble these fingers are for pulling. Oh, might have gotten it. And here it is. Chogyam Trungpa said in 2014, he passed away around 1987-88, Tibetan Buddhist monk Lama type. Super cool. I can say his full name or the title, Rinpoche now. I used to say Rinpoche. Whoops. And not even when I met him, I was like, hey, that's a mouthful for a name. Americans, you know, What's another way we can call you? He said, call me gentle Frank. So he's most wonderful, so patient, loving, reconciled if anybody's worried about his human background when he was here. He's awesome. He's unconditional love. He said, and this is one of the best quotes ever. I've only said this 1,000 times, so I could have memorized it by now. I don't know. The way to experience nowness is to realize that this very moment, this very point in life is always the occasion. You like that one?
Mm-hmm.
Have him add one more. Taking one breath is like taking one step. Both bring peace and harmony. He said that too, and I just did that straight from memory. The sound you hear is me patting myself on the back. Okay, here he is. Get one more deep insight from him. Breathe, breathe, breathe at home if you're trying to listen. No triota. What'd you get?
The stillness is God's stillness. So it's taking me back to the conversation about unconditional love, right? Love is a movement, and I often see love as a river of light. But there's something about once you're in God, all movement stops. And the stillness is our essence.
That was big. And I got a quote Native American saying. In American society, we think something is happening when there's talking going on. In Native American tribes, something's happening when there is stillness. I like it. And I'll do Big Mary for you. We'll put Big Mary up. But a quote from her was something like, love is everywhere. Open your eyes to find love. It's a constant. It's in and around you. It's the flow. It's the force from Star Wars. You could add a little extra vibration to it and call it joy. But the point is, it's a constant. But all of our adulting, our ancient burden of self-importance, roles, titles, failures, accomplishments, being a parent. I got 19 dogs. I've been through 19 divorces in 19 weeks. I'm that unlucky of a fellow. There's a million ways we get out of the flow, and yet it never went away. Only thinking something pulls you out. And we know this from Scrooge Christmas Carol. He was dental floss at the start of the 79 pages. If you got the right edition, it's 79 pages. Or the Disney animated or the old black and whites. I love them all. And it's easy to jump on Scrooge and be like, what a mean guy. He's down to one word, money. That's it. Narrow little vocabulary, narrow little existence. Got the blinders on. By the end of the book, he's the biggest joy bringer, still does great business. He's got a field of dreams as presence goes. You and I would want to cross the street to go say hi to him and have a chat. He would be able to listen to us and we'd feel completely attended to. The greatest amount of care, love, compassion, same human being. And that's all of us in every given moment. Just wait a second, the pendulum swings. Ebb and flow in life, it happens. What are you going to do? I'm still going back to thinking as soon as this show wraps up, I got to go judge someone, myself, someone else. My football team's not doing well. Oy vey, what do you do? Can't have a perfect fantasy football team every time. Here's Mary, the classic way. I've learned you got to have her this way. Lock it in if you're European or from Ireland. I'm going to do a modern photo of Mary. And here's your opportunity to really let go. If you need to put a hand on your heart, do a sacred request, special, whatever you want to call it. Words through the heart are the deepest way you can express yourself. You don't even have to talk out loud at home. Do it in the privacy of your apartment. You're dwelling on the beach. If you're watching this, you're hitting the subscribe, like button just in case. Here she is. Here's a modern version of Mary. Let her move, wink, smile more, sparkle more. But here's the challenge. And here's the opportunity for growth. And there is no challenge. Allow for rainbow glitter, flecks of light to be at least on the peripheral if you're judging this, if you're resisting it all. If you want rainbow glitter all over your house, your place around you, it's just compassion and light. What will you allow for? Breathe on this. Exhale like a whale. If you're like, I can't, you can. Tons of people have done this. You can do this jointly. If your twin sister's right there, bring her over. If you're getting along, allow yourselves to jointly hear her. See her make the glitter. Here's Big Mary. Breathe through the mouth. Turn up that stereo volume from the 1970s. Allow, and hear the most wonderful energy. Feel it come in. She's love, everything we've ever needed. If we all had her faith and trust, there'd be no more need for fear or worry. She's that big. And Elaine, can you just say got it or yes when you start to see her move in the photo, smiling more, her eyes get more sparkly?
Got it.
Yay. And can you say yes when you start to see either rainbow butterflies, rainbow glitter, some sort of swirls of light, or you know it's happening in the room? Just say yes or got it.
Lots of swirls.
I didn't do it. And don't let that distract you from delivering the goods from Mary to you. Ask for extra grace and feel it up and down your back to stay the course and hear the most beautiful, short, and just remindful, we'll make up a word, words for us all about how easy it is and how it's already in and around you, like Yoda says.
Yeah, it is easy. It's really as simple as opening your eyes, but you open your eyes with your heart. If you look at everything through your heart.
It's the Zen thing, seeing without seeing. It's the doing it through the heart, not trying to do it through the mind where it's a filter, like a Sherlock Holmes magnifying glass, which is important. You got to use it sometimes, but you don't need it anymore. And I'll do another exercise. This is seeing, backside, front side. You'll see my light against this. I'll show you my light. You don't have to show yours. Blue sky is number one, though, for folks. If you're sitting in a beach chair, do it this way. See your light flowing between your fingers. It's Celestine Prophecy, the movie. But I just had a guest who was totally kicking it in the 70s. And she said, hey, we were doing this back in the 70s before that movie existed. And in India, they do it this way. But it's awkward because I got to stand to do it. So I can't do it this way. I love doing it this way. Just give yourself a break. You're seeing with your heart. You'll see a little filament of light between my fingers, 5 colors at once, gold, green, yellow. It is what it is. Allow. But the second you see it, breathe more, pretend you're even more open, and watch extra stuff happen. And you can even get a little figure, like a little thing of light shooting off that you know is not me. It's you asking angels to do a butterfly. Or we've had Phoenix lately and all this other stuff. Just allow. You get a dad joke out of this. This is going to be the best part. So, Santa's reindeer, Elaine's already heard this, but if you hear it again, you generally laugh. Santa's reindeer, Blitzen Dancer, just those two. Why do they drink so much coffee? Blitzen and Dancer, why do they drink so much coffee? Because they're Santa's Starbucks. See a little filament of light between my fingers. And what colors are you seeing, Elaine?
Gold.
Yay. And now, if anybody needs to clap their hands, rub them together in a circle, don't make a fire. Breathe extra, exhale like a whale to sort of reset. Ask for extra light to come off the gold that you know is angels, Mary, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, everybody kicking it into gear, light beings. Ask for little sparks to come off, a tornado of light, a heart, a butterfly. So 2 people got a phoenix in the last week and a half. Are you getting any other extra objects or something that you know, like a purple heart that wasn't part of the original color? I see you smiling, so you're seeing something. What do you got, Elaine?
Yeah, I'm just seeing bright white light. I'm not seeing anything anymore.
And that's okay. And white light is it is the Hindu chakras, and so I try to say not to judge it. But white light's all the colors combined. The only thing bigger would be rainbow light, but then I think there's a clear light that I think is Christ consciousness itself. You'll know this more than I will, yes. But I think that's fair to say. That's what I've suspected now after 13 years. Here's joy. Hear what you need to hear either about the last exercise and what you just saw, or a reminder for us all how that's the constant flow. You only have to open your eyes to feel it, see it, love it, enjoy it. You don't even have to know it to do it. This is the best. Elaine, you are a good guest. Thank you.
What?
Your face is the best. You're processing stuff right now. We can tell you're feeling it, you're experiencing stuff. What can you share with us, either from your own experience there or vis-a-vis joy?
Okay, I'm just seeing Christ consciousness, a column, and there's a crystal in the middle of it, distributing out to everybody.
Oh, and I got to mention, our last show together was insanely cool. We were in my office, a bookshelf, and you see me just like this and go, and then lean forward, because we had a shooting white light go like this, that I'll say it on this show. I'll be quoting someone famous. They said it was interdimensional Jesuses. And ask Joy, yes or no, was it interdimensional Jesuses flying by? Thank you. I rest my case. It was someone famous who knew that that was the case. For me, it's all, and it was really bright white light for me. I'm lucky the camera keeps it at least whitish. I've had two angels do flybys for two South African guests. One lives in Germany, one lives in France. Go figure. I don't know why South Africans are getting singled out, but it's happening. One was Heather the angel. The other one I'm not sure about yet. So it is what it is. What will you allow for? Elaine, why don't you take us through anything you want to take us through, but then give us the pep talk about allowing more daily, and then we'll wrap it up. You'll come back on anytime you want. I got the APL Spotlight series that airs the day it tapes, and then we'll have you back on in 4 to 6 months if you wish. We'd love to see you back on the show. You're always phenomenal, literally, with all this. But talk to us about the last little bit here, and how is allowing more key to everything?
Well, thank you very much for that. Yes, allowing more is the key. This allowing more means you're giving yourself permission to be yourself. If you have any resistance to it, I mean, everybody is so powerful. We're all creators. And if we say, oh, I don't want this, that's what happens. Right? And so if you might think on the conscious level, you're allowing for it because it sounds like a great thing to happen. But there's a part of you maybe that remembers me, even from a past life, that, okay, maybe we don't want this to happen. Even Jesus said, if you don't give him your faith, if you don't allow him to heal you, he really can't help you. It's up to you. And so, yeah, allowing and clearing the way to allow your to make the allowing of yourself possible. That's really important, and that's where self-knowledge comes in. You have to really know yourself so that there aren't obstacles that you're not aware of. We have a real problem with self-deception and energies that can be blocked because of it.
I got one more surprise figure I forgot. But here's Jesus done in the painting style from, I think she was Latvia, Lithuania, 15, 20 years ago. She's probably 35 with 3 PhDs now. Beautiful, beautiful drawing that's very famous from Heaven is for Real. I think they used it in that one, the movie. Greg Kinnear in it. What's Jesus have as a reminder for everybody?
Wow, there's just so much. All you need to do is ask. He's always there. If you don't love yourself enough, you're going to feel separated from him, because that's again part of the allowing. And so the allowing actually is tied into loving. if you believe in yourself enough, if you go through the process of knowing yourself, and then you start knowing yourself as God. And then Jesus steps in, the angels step in, all your guides step in, and they help you, and they help guide you.
This has been lovely. Do you have a last little personal advice from Elaine to all of us? Again, I'm going to do that 1970s film. What's this all about? Alfie, what are we in the middle of again? How is it not about my career, my failures, my accomplishments? I'm a parent. You don't understand my situation. I got 6 dogs, 2 divorces in 2 weeks. I'm unlucky. Everything's happening to me. So this thing called life, it's more of a journey than we realize.
It's a huge journey, especially if you've forgotten who you are. I did. So I can understand that. But again, it's going to come down to your own knowingness, what you know deep inside. If you're not on track, something inside will tell you, and you won't be happy no matter what kinds of things you have around you, right? And so if you really want peace, if you really want to treat yourself well, listen to that inner prompting.
Wow. That is incredible. I am just so thankful to have you on, especially for that last little bit. It was heartfelt. Elaine Yoshikawa, Arizona, thank you for being a guest on Angels, Positivity, and Love. You absolutely rock. Thank you again.
Thank you.